I don't see our, like the image now of our conversation, and I don't see the chat. So Vera will help me with keeping track of that, but you are very welcome to come in with questions. So if you raise your hand, I won't see it. So please, you don't need to raise your hand, just jump in with questions anytime. And if I feel it might be answered a little bit later, then I can always say that. And but it does make it more interesting. So please feel free. Yes, so the idea to this came because we quite often get questions around how does this certification work in Namibia? What is possible to be certified? How is it with export market, with the national market? And we felt it would be useful to have this webinar. Today, you're lucky that you're present, you can ask questions, but then also to have it available later on so that we can refer interested farmers or processors to this video to get a good idea about the certification opportunities in Namibia, and then answer specific questions. So I first thought we can start with the question, why do we need certification? Because that is something that very often comes up if we engage with the public, or also, yeah, general. It does come up quite often. Why do we actually need certification? Why can't we just do without it? Because that would kind of be the optimum of saying if somebody says their product is organic, is produced in a healthy way, then we want to believe it. But in my eyes, certification is that opportunity of having an assurance that whatever the product claims to be is actually true. And so if the consumer is not able to go to the farm themselves and get to know the farm very well, they can actually have an assurance that what they are buying is actually produced the way that they are that they are hoping for. And that is also one of the reasons why NOAA came into being, which is quite a long time ago, where farmers and producers got together and had this need that the farmer said, we want to be able to sell our products as organic because we are putting a lot of effort into producing these healthy products. And the consumers said, we want to have an assurance that if a product is called organic, it is actually produced according to how we understand the production system should look like. So that was one of the reasons why NOAA was initially established. And there are different types of certification systems. And I think that's important also with Judith now linking to the international market. So the webinar today is about the Namibian market, because what the Namibian Organic Association can offer is certification for the local market. We are not accredited for, as this, what is here called a third-party certification. That is a very intense process, and that is only done by international companies that do this third-party certification for international standards. So we do it for the Namibian market. And to understand these kind of levels of assurance systems, that's kind of the first party, the second party, and the third party. So first party would be if a farmer says, I'm producing my products as organic, so that is why I'm putting, for example, organic apples on my packaging, because I as the producer, I vouch for this being organic. And very often, if there are very short value chains and the consumers know the farm directly, that works very well. So that people that buy the products from the farm, they've actually been to the farm, they know the farmer, and they know that this is true. And then the claim that the producer puts on the packaging is taken as legitimate, and the consumers are happy to buy those products. But if the consumers don't know the farm, then very often it needs what is here called the second party verification. So for example, that there's a group of people that verifies that the production is actually organic in this case. And then other people that procure these products, they also have an assurance because there have been people to the farm and have verified it. And then the third party, that is then for the international market mostly, where a certified or an accredited entity sends one person to a farm. They do a thorough check that is then verified by additional people against the standards. That's a very complex process, and that is then mostly applicable for very long value chains where there's, I would say, very limited trust. So it needs very thorough controls. So the buyer in, let's say, Italy has to rely on the system that through various wholesalers and processors, the original product is produced organically. So today we are talking about the second party verification that is still relevant for relatively short value chains. So for example, the national market, where we as NOAA, we offer this what's called the participatory guarantee system. That's how we do our certification. And we have the trust of the consumers in Namibia that if we declare a product, yes, it receives the Namibian organic mark, we have checked the process, then that is trusted by the consumers. So this is the second party verification system. And it's called the participatory guarantee system, which we will come across repeatedly. So this is basically what I already said. These are the international standards that are verified by third-party certifiers. So for farmers or people that are interested in export, that's a service that NOAA can't offer. We do have some expertise in supporting the preparations for third-party certification, but we are not accredited to inspect for these international markets. Just the general inspection process is, the general procedure is the same between the PGS and the third-party certification, that the entire value chain has to be verified. So it's not only about the raw product, but it's also about the processing. So every step that a product goes through needs to be checked. So then during that process, it is ensured that actually what is ending up in the end packaging actually comes from organic production. So if, let's say, we have a tea manufacturer who's buying ingredients from different farms, each of those farms has to be inspected. They have to have a certificate that they are organic. Then the person or the company that puts together these teas, they are also getting inspected to ensure that whatever is in the tea bags is actually from these organic producers, and there's no, for example, additional material mixed in. Yes, we also basically looked at this already. So if we're looking at local markets, do we actually need certification because the value chains are short, and sometimes the consumer is able to verify that if a farmer claims something is organic, that it actually is produced the way they would like it to be produced. But of course, also on a local market or a national market, that's not possible for every consumer. So that is why we offer this participatory guarantee system to certify products for the local market. Yes, and I would like to look at that a little bit more, just so that you get an idea of what is the participatory guarantee system. Why are we using it in Namibia? What does it stand for, and how does it work? And I will do, so that's now the kind of the overview now, and then afterwards I will go into the process, how it is actually done in Namibia. So for farmers or processors that want to be certified, so that you, as these farmers or processors, really get a good idea of what are the steps that you will actually be going through. So the participatory guarantee system is based on these principles, and that's a shared vision, so that those that are involved in the system really share a vision. And in our case, that is the support of sustainable farming systems that ensure that we can use nature's principles to produce healthy products that are healthy for the environment in which they are produced, but also healthy for the people that are consuming them. So it is not a mere market-oriented audience, let's say. So in third-party certification for the export market, very much is driven by economic reasons, why to get certification, and also the certification process. But the participatory guarantee system really relies on that people that are involved in it share this vision of wanting to support a natural farming system. It is also built on trust. So there are thorough checks, but it does need trust between the people that are involved that this is done properly. It is focused on horizontality, so that people are equal. The ones that are involved, they are seen as equal. There's no hierarchies. It's based on transparency, so that the farmer does welcome a group of people onto their property, into their operation, and shows how products are produced. If somebody feels that there's a lot of confidential information and they're not happy with welcoming a group of people onto the farm, then third-party certification